I want to start today with a challenge, a direct challenge to you listening right now. Do you trust your eyes?
Such a loaded question.
I mean, really trust them. If you look at something, a coffee mug, the road ahead of you, your partner's face, are you seeing exactly what is there?
It feels like a trick question, doesn't it? Because instinct says yes. Why would my eyes lie to me? But the answer, scientifically speaking, is a resounding no.
It is, and we've got a fantastic deep dive today that explains exactly why. We are unpacking Your Brain is Playing Tricks on You by Albert Moukheiber. And honestly, this material is, it's a bit of a mind bender.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about optical illusions or magic tricks. It's about how our entire reality is basically a construction project managed by a very overworked form in our brain.
That's a great analogy. Moukheiber is a doctor in cognitive neuroscience, and his central thesis is fascinating. He argues that we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. Our brain is constantly filtering, reconstructing, and filling in the blanks to create a coherent story. It's less like a camera taking a photo and more like a painter staring at a foggy landscape and just guessing what the trees look like.
The filling in the blanks part is what really got me. There's this experiment described right at the start of the source involving a cross and a dot.
The blind spot experiment.
Yeah. It turns out we all have a literal blind spot in our vision where the optic nerve exits the retina. If you hold the image at the right distance, the dot just completely disappears.
Right. But the fascinating part isn't that the dot disappears, it's what replaces it. You don't see a black hole or a blank patch in your vision. You see whatever is around it.
Which is wild.
It's on a white page, you see white.
Yeah.
If it's on a line, the line connects. Your brain literally invents visual data to plug the hole so you don't freak out.
That is the perfect setup for our mission today. We are going to explore how this filling in the void applies to everything. Our memories, our opinions, even our sense of self. We're going to look at why we are so confident when we're wrong and why stress makes us act like zebras running from lions.
And we should really frame this conversation around a key concept Moukheiber introduces: ambiguity reduction.
Okay.
The world is chaotic and ambiguous. The brain hates that. Its number one job is to stabilize reality, even if it has to lie to you to do it.
So let's unpack this ambiguity reduction because it sounds a bit technical. Is this like when your phone auto-completes a text message? It's just guessing what you want to say to save time?
That is actually a brilliant comparison. Think of your brain as a really advanced autocomplete or a compression algorithm like a JPEG. The raw data of the world is too noisy and overwhelming, so your brain takes shortcuts.
It compresses it.
Exactly. It reduces the ambiguity by making a choice about what it's seeing based on context and past experience.
And the most famous example of this, please tell me we're talking about the dress.
We have to talk about the dress. You remember it, blue and black or white and gold.
Oh, I was team white and gold all the way. And I distinctly remember thinking the blue and black people were playing a prank on me. I couldn't understand how they could see something so different.
Most people felt that way. But here's the science. Moukheiber explains that the image of that dress was BS-table.
Beastable.
Yeah, it was genuinely ambiguous regarding the lighting conditions. The photo just didn't give enough context about the light source in the room.
So my brain had to make a guess.
Yes, your brain had to make a split-second unconscious decision. Is this dress in a shadow, or is it being hit by bright light? If your brain assumed shadow, it mentally subtracted the shadow to show you the true colors, which appeared white and gold.
Wow.
If it assumed bright light, it subtracted the glare, and you saw blue and black.
So my brain decided shadow without asking me, and someone else's decided bright light, and that literally changed the physical colors we perceived.
Precisely. And once your brain resolves that ambiguity, once it picks a lane, it sticks to it.
Yeah.
It creates a stable reality. That's why you couldn't see the other perspective.
Because my brain had already made its choice.
Right. Neither side was wrong about what they were perceiving. The brain just filled in the missing context differently.
It's wild that we can be so convinced of something that is essentially a guess by our visual cortex, but okay, mistaking a dress color is one thing. That's low stakes. But the source material goes darker. There's this condition called Anton syndrome that sounds absolutely terrifying.
It is tragic, honestly. It's a form of visual agnosia. Essentially, these are patients who are completely blind due to brain damage in the visual cortex. but they are convinced, absolutely convinced, that they can see.
Wait, I need to understand this. If they are blind, they must know they are blind, right? Like they bump into things.
That's the thing. If they bump into a wall, they won't say, oh, I didn't see that because I'm blind. They'll say, who put that wall there? Or the lights must have gone out. No, and they aren't lying to save face. Their brain is generating images, hallucinating a reality to maintain coherence. It's called confabulation, the brain making up a story to make sense of the world.
That word confabulation comes up a lot. It's distinct from lying because the person genuinely believes it.
Yes. Lying requires intent. Confabulation is an automatic defense mechanism against a broken reality.
This brings us to the split brain experiments. I've heard about these in pop psychology, left brain logic, right brain creativity, but Moukheiber goes into the specific Gazzaniga and Sperry studies. This is where I started to question my own free will a little bit.
It is a profound study. So you have a patient whose corpus callosum, the bridge that connects the left and right hemispheres of the brain, has been severed to treat severe epilepsy. This means the two halves of the brain literally cannot talk to each other.
Right. And the setup is crucial here. They show an image to the left eye, which is processed by the right brain, and they show a different image to the right eye processed by the left brain.
Correct. And remember, for most people, the left brain controls speech. The right brain is mute. So in one experiment, they showed a snowy scene to the left eye, the right brain,
Okay.
and a chicken foot to the right eye, the left brain.
So the verbal left brain sees a chicken, the mute right brain sees snow.
Exactly. Then they asked the patient to pick an object from a pile that matches what they saw. The left hand, controlled by the nonverbal right brain, points to a shovel because it saw snow. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The right hand points to a chicken. That also makes sense.
But here's the kicker. The researcher asks the patient, why did you point to the shovel?
Now, think about this. The part of the brain that creates speech, the left brain, never saw the snow. It has zero data on why the hand pointed to a shovel. It should just say, I don't know, or my hand just moved.
But it doesn't.
No, it instantly confabulates. The patient says, oh, simple. The chicken foot goes with the chicken, and the shovel is to clean out the chicken coop.
That is unbelievable. The brain just fabricated a logical reason out of thin air to explain an action it didn't understand. And the patient isn't confused. They don't hesitate.
Zero hesitation.
Huh?
The interpreter module in the left brain sees the action pointing to a shovel and the context chicken and stitches them together into a coherent narrative. It prioritizes coherence over truth.
This is what I meant about free will. If that patient is making up a reason for pointing to the shovel, how do I know I'm not doing that right now? Like, I think I chose to eat oatmeal for breakfast because I want to be healthy, but maybe my body just craved carbs and my brain invented the health narrative 5 seconds later to make me feel like I'm in charge.
That is the uncomfortable question Moukheiber wants you to ask. We are constantly narrating our lives, rationalizing our instincts and reactions after they happen. We think we are the chess player moving the pieces, but often we're just the sports commentator describing the game as it unfolds.
Okay, if we are inventing reasons for our actions in the present, what are we doing to our past? I think most of us still have this idea that memory is like a video file on a hard drive. You pull it up, press play, and watch what happened. Maybe the resolution is a bit grainy, but the file is the file.
And Moukheiber is very clear about this. That is a total myth. Memory is not a video file. It's more like a Wikipedia page that you and others can edit every time you visit it. It's reconstructive. You're rebuilding the scene based on what you know now, not just what happened then.
The example that stuck with me was the car accident study by Elizabeth Loftus. I'd heard of her, but I didn't realize how subtle the manipulation was.
This is a foundational study. Loftus showed participants a video of a car crash. Then she asked them questions. For one group, she asked, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? For the other group, she asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other?
Just one word changed. Hit versus smashed.
Just one word. And yet, the smashed group estimated significantly higher speeds. But the really scary part came a week later. She brought them back and asked, did you see any broken glass?
And there wasn't any in the video, right?
None. But the people who had heard the word smashed were much more likely to say, yes, I remember the broken glass. The word smashed implies violence and breakage, so their brains updated the memory file to include glass. It made the memory more coherent with the linguistic label.
So a single word from an external source can literally rewrite my visual memory of an event. That has huge implications for things like eyewitness testimony in court.
Huge. Loftus proved you can even implant entirely false memories. In another study, she managed to convince about 25% of participants that they had been lost in a shopping mall as a child.
Just by suggesting it.
Yeah. She got their families to play along, gave them a few vague details, and the participants' brains did the rest. They started describing the flannel shirt of the man who found them, the fear they felt.
For an event that never happened.
Never happened. But because the brain abhors a vacuum, that blind spot again, it fills the void with what should be there based on the suggestion.
There's a lighter side to this self-deception, though. The jam experiment. This one made me laugh out loud, but it's also kind of embarrassing for our species.
It's termed choice blindness. Researchers set up a tasting booth at a supermarket with different jams. You taste 2 jams, you pick your favorite. Let's say you pick the strawberry one.
Okay.
Then, using a bit of sleight of hand and the double-ended jar, they hand you the jar you didn't pick, the lime one, and say, here, taste your choice again and tell us why you liked it.
And people notice, right? They said, hey, this is the lime one, I picked strawberry.
You would think so, but most didn't. They tasted the rejected jam and happily explained, oh, I love the texture of this one, or it's much fruitier. They were literally justifying the flavor of the jam they had rejected seconds earlier.
That is hilarious. But also, we are so desperate to appear consistent that we will defend a choice we didn't even make.
It's not just appearing consistent to others. It's about internal consistency. We need to believe that our choices are rational. If I am eating this jam, I must have chosen it. If I chose it, it must be good. Therefore, I will find reasons why it is good.
We justify choices we didn't make, and we remember things that didn't happen. This brings us to maybe my favorite story in the book. It's the story of MacArthur Wheeler.
Ah, the lemon juice robber. A legend in psychological circles.
This story is the definition of you can't make this stuff up. So, picture this. It's 1995. This guy, MacArthur Wheeler, walks into 2 different banks in Pittsburgh. He robs them. It's broad daylight. He isn't wearing a mask. He actually smiles at the surveillance cameras.
He's practically posing for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously the police release the footage on the news. Someone calls in immediately, identifies him, and they arrest him an hour later. And when the police show up at his door, he is genuinely, totally shocked. He says, but I wore the juice.
I wore the juice.
He believed that because lemon juice can be used as invisible ink on paper, you know, the kid's science trick rubbing it on his face would make him invisible to video cameras.
He even tested it. He put juice on his face and took a Polaroid selfie. But in his haste, he probably aimed the camera at the ceiling, or the film was bad, and seeing a blank photo, he confirmed his theory. I am invisible.
It's funny, but it's also the perfect intro to the Dunning-Kruger effect.
It is. Dunning-Kruger is often misunderstood on the internet as just stupid people are too dumb to know they're stupid. But it's more nuanced. It's about the illusion of knowledge. When you know very little about a subject, you lack the expertise to realize how much you don't know. You're on what they call the peak of Mount Stupid.
I feel like I live on that peak, depending on the day. Like I watch one YouTube video on plumbing, surely I can repipe my bathroom.
We all do it. The source mentions a great study by Rebecca Lawson involving bicycles. She asked people to draw a working bicycle, just a sketch. Connect the frame, the chain, the pedals.
I would fail this. I know I would. I'd put the chain on the front wheel or something.
You wouldn't be alone. 40% of people couldn't identify a working bike from a fake one in a lineup. But before the test, they all claimed they knew how a bike worked. We suffer from an illusion of explanatory depth. We confuse familiarity. I ride bikes. With understanding, I know the mechanics of a bike.
But then there's the flip side. If the incompetent are confident, the competent are terrified.
Exactly. Imposter syndrome. As you learn more, you slide down from the peak of Mount Stupid into the valley of despair. You realize how complex the subject actually is. So, highly competent people, often high-performing women or high-potential individuals, underestimate their abilities because they are painfully aware of the nuances that the novices don't even see.
The Peter principle plays into this too, right?
The idea that people are promoted to their level of incompetence, the less you know, the louder you are, so you get promoted over the expert who is quietly doubting themselves.
So the guy with lemon juice on his face is ready to rob a bank because he thinks he's a genius, and the highly competent person is afraid to speak up. It's a cruel irony. Let's shift gears to how this lack of control feels. The source talks about locus of control. This is the internal versus external thing.
Yes. Do you believe you are the captain of your soul, an internal locus? Or do you believe you are a leaf in the wind, an external locus?
And Moukheiber connects this to learned helplessness. This is a heavy concept, but it feels really relevant right now.
It comes from Martin Seligman's experiments with dogs in the 60s. He found that if a dog is subjected to shocks, it cannot stop. No matter what it does, the shock comes. It eventually stops trying. It just lies down.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. But the critical part is what happened next. Later, they put those same dogs in a box where they could easily escape the shock just by jumping a low barrier. But they didn't jump. They had learned that their actions didn't matter, so they didn't even try to escape when they easily could.
Moukheiber connects this to things like societal apathy. Climate change is the big example. If we feel like the problem is too massive and our recycling bin doesn't matter, we just stop. We resign ourselves.
We do. It's a maladaptive way of reducing ambiguity. Ambiguity is stressful. Can I fix this? Will it work? Resignation is stable. I can't do anything is a coherent worldview. It resolves the tension of trying and failing. It's a dark form of comfort.
Speaking of stress and tension, we have to talk about the zebra, because the source makes a really interesting point about why modern life feels so overwhelming. And it's not just we are busy, it's biology.
The zebra and the lion analogy. Moukheiber puts a specific spin on it regarding ambiguity. See, for a zebra, stress is acute. A lion appears. Ambiguity is gone. The problem is clear run or die.
Right. The zebra isn't worrying about its pension or whether the other zebras like its stripes.
Exactly. The stress response, cortisol, adrenaline, is designed to fuel muscles for a sprint. Digestion stops, libido pauses, and higher-level thinking shuts down because you don't need to do algebra to outrun a lion.
But we aren't running from lions, we're sitting in chairs.
That's the mismatch. Our brains treat psychological threats, public speaking, an angry email, a deadline, the same way they treat a physical predator.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in a meeting, and your body's prepping to sprint across the savannah. But you can't sprint. You have to sit there and be articulate. But you can't be articulate because your blood is in your legs, not your prefrontal cortex.
That explains the brain fog I get when I'm super stressed. It's literally a resource allocation problem.
And this stress narrows our focus. It creates tunnel vision. This brings us to the Good Samaritan experiment, which is perhaps the most damning evidence of how context controls us more than character.
This one hurts my soul a little bit. Seminary students, people specifically studying to be religious leaders, were told to go give a talk. And the topic of the talk was literally the Good Samaritan parable.
Which, for those who don't know, is the biblical story about stopping to help a stranger in need when others walk by. So on the way to give this talk, the researchers planted an actor slumped in a doorway, coughing and groaning in pain.
So the test is, will these students who are thinking about the Good Samaritan actually be Good Samaritans?
And the variable wasn't their personality or how religious they were. It was time. Some were told, you have plenty of time, head over whenever. Others were told, you're late, they're waiting for you, hurry up.
And the results?
Of the group that was in a rush, only 10% stopped to help. Some literally stepped over the victim to get to their lecture on helping victims.
Ouch.
But the group, with time, most of them stopped. It proves that context often overrides character. The stress of being late created that tunnel vision we talked about. They reduced the ambiguity of the situation by ignoring the distress signals so they could complete their primary mission.
But it's not just time and stress that control us, right? It's also who's around us, the whole bystander effect.
Yes, the Kitty Genovese principle. The presence of others dilutes our sense of responsibility.
Because you assume someone else will handle it.
Exactly. The source notes that if you are alone, 85% of people will help someone in distress. But if you are in a group, that drops to just 31%.
Wow. We just conform to the group's inaction.
Social conformity is incredibly powerful. Remember Solomon Ash's lion experiment?
Oh, this is the one where people gave the wrong answer on purpose just to fit in.
Right. They were asked to identify which line on a card was the longest. The answer was obvious. But when planted actors in the room all gave the wrong answer, the real participant would often conform and give the wrong answer too. They would literally deny their own eyes to agree with the group.
It reminds me of that classic prank where you just stand on a crowded street and stare at the ceiling. Eventually, everyone around you stops and stares at the ceiling too. We're just wired to copy the group.
We really are. We assume the group knows something we don't.
So we've covered a lot. Our vision has blind spots that we fill with guesses. Our memories are edited every time we access them. We act confident about things we don't understand. We step over people in need if we're running 5 minutes late. And we ignore our own eyes just to fit in. It's a little depressing, isn't it?
It can feel that way if you look at it as we are broken. But Moukheiber argues that understanding this is actually empowering. The goal isn't to eliminate these biases. That's impossible. You can't turn off your brain's hardware. You can't uninstall the confabulation software.
So what's the solution? If I can't trust my brain, what do I do?
You develop mental flexibility. It's about what he calls metacognitive control. That sounds fancy, but it just means distinguishing between your automatic primary thought and your conscious analysis.
So trusting your gut is actually bad advice.
Often, yes. Your gut is just your biases working on autopilot. It's the JPEG compression. The technique he suggests is to doubt your first thought. If you are absolutely certain of something, pause. If you feel immediate anger or fear, pause.
It's like we need to install a little speed bump in our brains, a check engine light.
Exactly. We need to accept that knowing is often an illusion.
So practically speaking, what does this look like? Next time I'm arguing with my uncle about politics, or I'm sure my boss hates me, what do I do?
You embrace the illusion of certainty. We crave certainty because it feels safe. Ambiguity is scary. But if we know our brains are constantly tricking us to create that feeling of safety, then doubt stops being a weakness. It becomes a superpower.
Doubt is a superpower. I like that.
It is. It's the only way to reconnect with a shared reality. If I admit that my perception might be wrong, and you admit yours might be wrong, we have a middle ground to meet on. If we both think we own the absolute truth, we're just two Anton syndrome patients bumping into walls and blaming each other.
That is a powerful image. Two blind people yelling at each other about walls that may or may not be there.
Precisely. So here is a thought to leave you with. The next time you are in a heated argument, or you read a headline that makes you furious, or you are absolutely 100% certain that you remember exactly what someone said to you 5 years ago, can you stop?
Oh.
Can you pause and ask yourself, what if my brain is just telling me a story?
A terrifying question, but a necessary one. It sounds like the first step to seeing the world as it is, rather than just as we are. Thank you for guiding us through the maze of our own minds today.
My pleasure. Just don't ask me to draw a bicycle.
Deal. And to everyone listening, keep your eyes open. Even if you can't always trust them, stay curious.